Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. In this module, we shall be discussing different strategies for biodiversity conservation. You know what is biodiversity and you also know its different types. You also know the applications of biodiversity which you have studied in other modules. You have also learnt that various activities of man have done enormous damage, enormous loss to the biodiversity, and now it is really important to have the biodiversity conservation. So, in this module we shall be discussing about the different approaches that can be used for the biodiversity conservation. The learning objectives of this module are to discuss different biodiversity conservation methods. In that we will be discussing in situ biodiversity conservation methods as well as ex situ biodiversity conservation methods. Then in vitro techniques of biodiversity conservation. Then we will have a look on the international framework for biodiversity and biodiversity conservation and national framework for biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity is facing a great loss or extinction due to natural or anthropogenic reasons. About 60,000 to 100,000 species with diverse economic uses are under threat of extinction and needs to be protected. For this, various traditional as well as emerging technologies like biotechnology towards conservation of biodiversity and genetic resources for sustainable development are required to be employed or used. Major and primary steps toward biodiversity conservation are identification, means to identify and quantify more and more species so that closer estimates could be built up while measuring the biodiversity loss. The another step can be planning and implementation of conservation policy awareness, means promoting awareness among the general public about the ongoing over exploitation and its future implications are required. And third important thing is the sharing of information. Whatever information is created about biodiversity, that should be shared with the policymakers, scientists as well as general public. Now, let me come to the with this background, let me come to the biodiversity conservation method. As I told in the beginning, biodiversity conservation method may be in situ conservation method or ex situ conservation method. First, we will be discussing the in situ conservation method. In situ conservation means the conservation of the biodiversity in its habitat. This is the protection of animal or even plants in its natural habitat, and it includes protection of various types of ecosystem through network of protected areas. It includes national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, sacred groves and biosphere reserves. So, we will be discussing these all one by one. Let first we discuss about national parks. National parks are protected area under government, secluded from any kind of human interference. Activities like grazing, forestry, tree cutting etc. are not permitted in these areas. India is having a large number of more than 100 national parks, and let we have a look on the some of the important national parks of India. And the important national parks of India are, although all national parks are important, Gir National Park, that is in Gujarat, Jim Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand, Kaziranga National Park in Assam. Kaziranga National Park is well known for one-horned rhinoceros. Then Bandipur National Park, Karnataka, Tudula National Park in Maharashtra, then Kahana National Park is in Madhya Pradesh, Manas National Park in Assam, Raibul Lamjao National Park in Manipur. Dear student, I will suggest you please make a list of all the national parks as well as make a list of those national parks in which Project Tiger is going on. This slide shows the pictures of the different national parks. The first picture is from Kahna National Park, second one is from Bandhavgarh National Park, then from Jim Corbett National Park, then Kaziranga National Park, then Periyar National Park and Gir National Parks. Please have a look either on the website of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change or different Google sites to know about these national parks. The second way of biodiversity conservation in situ method is wildlife sanctuaries. Government owned areas bounded to conserve the wild flora and fauna. Limited human activities are allowed in the wildlife sanctuaries, whereas in case of national parks no activity was allowed, and the limited activities which are allowed in the wildlife sanctuaries that include harvesting of timbers, collection of forest products, cultivation of land, etc. Some wildlife sanctuaries in India are Bandipur Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Karnataka, then Bhitarkanika Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Odisha, then Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Assam, then Dachigam Wildlife Sanctuary in J&K, Sundarbans Wildlife Sanctuary in West Bengal, Kevaladev Bird Sanctuary. It has now been converted to the national park. Earlier it was called Ghana Bird Sanctuary. Then Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Kerala, and then Mundanthurai Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Tamil Nadu. This is a small list. India is having about 350 wildlife sanctuaries. Dear students, please do one thing, find out the wildlife sanctuary in your state and the neighboring state, and try to find out that which animals and plants are protected in that wildlife sanctuary. Whenever you get a chance, please visit and try to study the features of those wildlife sanctuaries. This picture shows some images of different wildlife sanctuaries. Now, let me come to biosphere reserves. People are an integral component of this system, that is biosphere reserve. A biosphere reserve consists of a core, buffer and transition zones. Now, what is core zone? Core zone represent an undisturbed or least disturbed area of representative ecosystem. Buffer zone surrounds the core zone and is managed for research, education and training activity. Then transition zone is the area of active cooperation between reserve management and the local population. So, core zone in the center, then it is covered by buffer zone and then it is covered by transition zone. 9 of the 18 biosphere reserves in India are included in the UNESCO Man and the Biosphere program. The biosphere reserve list is given here, and they are Nokrak in Meghalaya, then Gulf of Mannar, that is in Tamil Nadu, then Sundarbans, that is in West Bengal, then Great Nicobar, that is in Andaman and Nicobar Island, then Simplipal, that is in Odisha, then Dehang Dibang, that is in Arunachal Pradesh, then Panchmadi, that is in Madhya Pradesh, then Kangchendu Jonga, that is in Sikkim, then Agastamalai in Western Ghats, then Achankamar, that is in Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh, then Kuch in Gujarat, then Cold Desert in Himachal Pradesh, then Sishachalam in Andhra Pradesh, Panna in Madhya Pradesh, Nanda Devi in Uttarakhand and Nilgiri in Western Ghats. So, this is the list of biosphere reserves of India. Now, let me have a look on the protected area networks in a nutshell. India is having a total of 103 national parks, 543 wildlife sanctuaries, 18 biosphere reserves, 45 community reserves and 73 conservation reserves. The total protected area is 1,62,024 square kilometer, and this is about 4.93% of the total geographical area. This is the data taken from the website up to July 2017. Now, let me have a look on different ex-situ conservation method. As told earlier, ex-situ conservation method refer to the protection of elements of biodiversity outside their natural habitat. In this case, there is a cessation of evolutionary progression, but the desired genes would be preserved. This conservation strategy play an important role in recovering the endangered species. Ex-situ conservation includes geological gardens, botanical gardens, arboreta, nurseries, field gene banks, captive breeding and artificial propagation of plants and in vitro techniques. Zoological gardens, where the animals are confined in enclosures displayed to public for education and recreation motives and may even bred for, means breeding may be there for conservation purposes. Whereas botanical gardens have a collection of wide range of plants grown outside natural habitats in some artificially provided conditions and are meant for conservation, research and education. Arboreta are the botanical gardens specialized in trees. Nurseries are a place where plants are propagated to a usable size, usually up to the seedling stage, generally meant for ornamental purposes. Field gene banks are useful for conserving plant genotypes, generally vegetatively propagated, as live plants that undergo continuous growth and require continuous maintenance. These provide an easy access to plant genetic resources, but are expensive to maintain, require more labor, inputs and space and have higher levels of risk from natural disasters. Then captive breeding of animals with possible reintroduction into the wildlife. Then we have artificial propagation of plants, then in vitro techniques. In vitro techniques include the laboratory practices used for the conservation of plants or animals and microbial diversity through its storage in germ plasm banks, propagation via tissue culture methods, preservation using the technique of cryopreservation, conversion into artificial seeds, maintenance as slow growth cultures and long term perpetuation as DNA clones. The various in vitro techniques includes germ plasm banks. Germ plasm banks or biobanks provide controlled storage facilities of temperature, humidity, etc. for the material to be conserved. Materials conserved in germ plasm banks are of three types. One is base collection, that is samples which is kept for long term and is not to be used as a routine distribution source. Then active collection. Active collection are the samples maintained for medium term viability, that is about 30 years, which are available when required. Then working collection. Working collection are the samples which are easily accessible to be used by breeders or researchers for various experiments and crop improvement program. Then let me have a look on the seed banks. Materials in the form of seeds are stored at nearly -10 to -20 degrees Celsius, often using silica gel in the seed containers to reduce humidity. Because you know, humidity play an important role in the decaying of the vegetation or fruits, vegetable seeds, etc. Samples are small in size, easy to handle, require low maintenance and frequently remain viable for long periods. Famous seed bank projects are Millennium Seed Bank project associated with Royal Botanical Garden, then Kiev Svalbard Global Seed Wallet opened on February 26, 2008 near Norway, then National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, that is called as and BPGR in New Delhi. Then tissue culture is another technique that can play an important role in the biodiversity conservation. It is based on the concept of totipotency of plant cells. It offers the unique opportunities of storing several valuable species in a comparatively small space under secure and pathogen free environment with relative ease of multiplication. Plants conserved by tissue culture, mature trees of Ulmus americana, Leptadina reticulata, that is called as Jivanti vernacular name, then Caralluma edulis, then Orchis lanata, then Gentiana curo. Then cryopreservation is another method. As the name indicating, this technique of preserving of germplasm is at ultra low temperature of minus 196 degrees Celsius, that is the temperature of liquid nitrogen, means the liquid nitrogen is used in the cryopreservation. The principle underlying cryopreservation involves bringing the cultures to a state of non-dividing and zero metabolism, so that any biological activity is effectively stopped. It also helps in storing tissues of animal origin such as cultured animal cells, spermatozoa, ovaries or embryonic tissues and whole embryos for livestock breeding program. Then another method of conservation is artificial seeds. Somatic embryos are cultured in vitro through embryogenesis and can be preserved as artificial or synthetic seeds by coating with gels like sodium alginate, calcium alginate and polyacrylamide gel, etc., which prevent them from desiccating. Production of sodium alginate beads by encapsulation of shoot tips and nodal segments of medicinally important plant Mentha arvensis helps in its in vitro regeneration and conservation. The another method is DNA clones. DNA, you know, DNA is the basic unit of heredity of a cell, can effectively be used for conservation of threatened plant species. Currently, extracted or preserved DNA cannot be used to regenerate whole organism, but any chosen gene can be isolated for use in genetic engineering. Its preservation can be used for conservation of valuable genes or DNA segments from threatened species. Now, let me have a look on the international framework for biodiversity conservation. A number of protocols, a number of treaties have been done for the biodiversity conservation. The first one, let me have a look on the World Heritage Convention 1972. This convention has been responsible for the preservation of cultural properties with 190 parties under it. It enhances public knowledge, awareness and appreciation for the heritage sites. Then another is IUCN, that is the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, now also called as World Conservation Union, 1948. It was founded in order to bring governmental and non-governmental agencies around the world together to conserve biodiversity and natural resources and promote their sustainable use at local, national and international level. Then we have another treaty, that is CITES, that is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species 1973. This convention was signed into put ban on the over exploitation and international illegal trade of wild flora and fauna. Then we have Convention on Biological Diversity. This convention on biological diversity came into force on 29th December 1993 with the objective of conserving the biodiversity, sustainable use of biodiversity and fair and equitable share of benefits arising from the use of natural resources. 193 countries have adopted this conservation treaty or convention, including India. Then we have International Treaty for Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. It aims at guaranteeing food security through the conservation, exchange and sustainable use of world's plant genetic resources for food and agriculture, as well as the fair and equitable benefit sharing arising from its use. Then we have another treaty, that is the Ramsar Convention, that is on wetlands of international importance, and this came into existence in 1971. It is an international collaboration of 168 parties covering 21,431 wetlands of international importance. It was initiated in 1971 for the conservation of wetlands, mangroves and coral reefs. A number of Indian wetlands are under Ramsar Convention. Dear student, please make a list of different Indian wetlands or the Indian lakes which are under Ramsar Convention. Then we have another convention, the Convention on Migratory Species, this also known as Bonn Convention. It is an international treaty aiming to conserve terrestrial, aquatic and avian migratory species. So, this was a brief about international efforts, international framework on the biodiversity conservation. Now, let me have a look on the national framework for biodiversity conservation. State and Union Government of India has developed a number of wildlife acts for the enforcement of conservation strategies. Madras Wildlife Elephant Preservation Act 1973, All India Elephant Preservation Act 1879, the Wild Birds and Animal Protection Act 1912, then Bengal Rhinoceros Preservation Act 1932, then Assam Rhinoceros Preservation Act 1954, then Wildlife Protection Act 1974, that has been amended several times in 1983, then 1986, then in 1991. Then we have Forest Conservation Act of 1990, that was again amended in 1988. Then we have the Forest Conservation Act of 1986, that also called as Umbrella Act for the protection of whole environment. Then we have Biodiversity Conservation Act 2002, it was implemented in 2004, and then we have National Environmental Policy 2006. So, now to conclude this lecture, biological diversity is the key foundation of a healthy, livable and sustainable planet, but the increasing exploitation coupled with natural calamities has led to the rapid dwindling of important species. It is also important for all the developed and developing countries to work in coordination, share as much as information as possible as they have about the biodiversity in their region and help each other for the realization of this goal. Proper implementation of government schemes play a vital role in the biodiversity conservation. Here we have given a brief of the in situ and ex situ conservation methods. These ex situ conservation methods will be taught to you in detail in another module. Thank you.